Alright, here goes. So, this is not going to be a video about the entire series of events. This is just an update video about what my current situation is and what is going on for me. So currently I am receiving abuse and from North Central Healthcare for speaking out about my father and his involvement with the CIA. So I began telling my neighbors that my father works for the CIA at first to retaliate against him after he was verbally abusive to me, and also because I had my suspicions that he was using government resources to basically abuse me. And on that ground and that basis, North Central Healthcare has continued to misdiagnose me, violate my patient and human rights, and even has made false accusations against me to illegally commit me to their system. And God, I don't even know where to begin with this. So that's currently what I'm dealing with right now, but the main thing is that I'm dealing with this situation is if I speak about any of this, even if I even say that my father does work for the CIA, my psychiatrist and the staff at North Central Healthcare that are in charge of my treatment indirectly threaten me with more medication, more mental illness diagnoses, and even the custody of my daughter. And this is just for speaking about the CIA, which the last I checked is not illegal. It's not illegal, and you're allowed to tell whoever you want. You're allowed to tell whoever you want. And on that basis, North Central Healthcare is writing me out to be mentally unstable and mentally ill if I speak to anyone about it. So that's my current situation right now. That is what I'm going through, and I have some of the things that have been said to me at appointments, sessions with staff at North Central Healthcare are violations of human rights. I have been accused of being hostile, aggressive, and requiring antipsychotic medication simply because I question them. And I have recorded footage of that happening if you go to my playlist, North Central or NCHC sessions, or whatever I labeled it as. Some of the things being said to me, I have also been asked to completely illegitimize myself in anything that I've said. So it's also, they do it indirectly too, to where it's like they're implying that if you speak about the CIA anymore, you are mentally ill and need more medication, which, by the way, this medication causes permanent brain damage. And not only that, when they fucked me up with the medication, which, by the way, they illegally committed me to their system by making false accusations against me to take and forced me to take. And this medication, I was drooling like I was brain dead, and I could not even understand my cell phone, like how to use the apps on it, or barely how to make a phone call on this antipsychotic medication they're forcing me to take. And this is all just on the grounds I'm not hallucinating, I'm not hearing voices, I'm not seeing things that aren't there. The only thing I'm doing is saying my father works for the CIA, and I believe he might be harassing me. I don't have proof or evidence, I might be suspicious about it. I've had some occurrences happen around my residence, and but that was kind of before. After the false accusations, see, I'm scared to even say that it's true. I'm scared to even say that it's true because of what's been done to me and how terribly abused I've been by North Central Healthcare. I'm scared to even say it out loud that my father is abusing me with CIA and local government resources. And false accusations. When the false accusations started, that's when I knew that, because, you know, before the events that were happening around my residence was, you know, I got a lot of spam phone calls, 2 or 4 phone calls a day where it would be like someone on the other end of the line. And this is all after a disagreement between me and my father, to which he said, you know, if you don't do as I say, you're gonna have consequences. And I got the weird phone calls, and then the random cars would just come and park up next to my driveway or in my driveway at all hours of the night with their headlights on. I had cars that would just ride up like right behind me and then drive up next to me and almost veer me off the road. And at one point I actually got threatened by a lady in a grocery store wearing a red t-shirt that had the Freemason symbol on it, and she said, you are gonna have an accident, or like you and your daughter are gonna have an accident. Where was I with my story? I was talking about North Central. So that's where I am right now. So all of those were just kind of plausibly deniable events, or just kind of, it didn't really have proof of what was going on. You know, it's easy to just call somebody crazy, which, by the way, when is anybody crazy for saying somebody works for the CIA? Since when does that make you crazy or qualify you for medication? But anyway, moving on. So everything was plausibly deniable up to that point until the false accusations began. And I was falsely accused of battering an officer, spitting water at people. What else? I was falsely accused of saying I was suicidal. And a psychiatrist at North Central Healthcare that I had an appointment with, it was a very short appointment via Zoom. Actually, he asked me one question. I think it was like, are you suicidal? That's all he asked me. And I was just like, no, I'm not suicidal. All I'm doing is saying my dad works for the government and I think he might be harassing me. And that I've been falsely accused. I've been falsely accused by law enforcement. And when we stood before a judge for trial to commit me to the North Central Healthcare system against my will, that psychiatrist made up a bunch of things that I never said and called me dangerous. He said I was talking about like brains or something and aliens, or that it was a CIA prison, and I never said any of that stuff. He completely made up an entire dialogue and said I was a danger to myself and society, and lied before a judge to illegally commit me to the North Central Healthcare system. Now, I have brought this up to the psychiatrist I currently see, and even I have footage of it. When I brought it up to her, she not only said it doesn't matter, prove yourself, prove it. Not only did she say that, but she said, you talking about this doesn't look good for you getting out of your commitment, which that is indirectly threatening me with my commitment order if I don't stop talking about the illegal activity done at North Central Healthcare. It's very hard to talk about because these are trusted individuals in a system that people trust them, and they are in positions of power and authority, and she abuses her authority over me. She abuses her authority over me and violates my basic human rights to ask questions or request things about my treatment or care. Like when I question about my diagnosis was actually changed without my knowing, without being evaluated for it, and without meeting proper criteria for the diagnosis that it was changed to. And I wouldn't have found that out if I hadn't looked into my own patient charts. That's just only one occurrence. It's so scary to talk about this. Oh my God. It's so, it's not even linear. I'm trying to like explain what's happened, but basically North Central has done a lot of illegal stuff to me. They've done a lot of illegal stuff, false allegations to illegally commit me to their system. I continue and remain to be illegally committed, and it's because I'm talking about the CIA is the only basis that they're calling me mentally unstable. And if I question them about why I'm on antipsychotics when I'm not hallucinating or seeing anything, I'm just talking about something that is a fact and realistic. They accuse me of being hostile and aggressive for questioning them and not doing as I'm told, which is just insane. It's insane, some of the things they're saying. Also, in another recent event that occurred, my roommate's brake lines were actually cut, and he came home and told me. And my roommate, I've informed him about what's going on with North Central Healthcare and the CIA and all the false allegations they made against me. Now, when he told me his brake lines had been cut, I made sure to ask him and say, you know, like, could it have been an accident? Because I don't really know how cars work. Or like, could it have been nicked or something by something on the freeway? To which he told me, no, they were definitely intentionally cut. Somebody intentionally cut his brake lines, and they were like flapping in the wind, and there was fluid everywhere. Now, I have informed all of the people giving me my treatment at North Central Healthcare of the random phone calls I got, the cars in the driveway, the lady that threatened me, the false allegations, and the illegal activity and false allegations made against me by law enforcement and people at North Central Healthcare. I have informed them all of this, and my father's government background has been verified. So I'm not speaking about something that's not real. And they continue to misrepresent my mental health and mental stability. And now my roommate's brake lines have been cut. And another strange occurrence is I am doing the best I can to receive my care, receive as much care as I possibly can outside of the North Central Healthcare ecosystem, which, by the way, my case manager has let me know that North Central Healthcare basically owns the town, and any small third-party providers that try and do therapy or psychiatry are basically fucked. Like, if they don't contract with North Central Healthcare and they can't afford it and they can't get patients because North Central Healthcare just fucks them up or like owns the town. There's a lot of big money involved, is what she told me. Now, I've done the best I can to get as much of my services outside of North Central Healthcare, which basically only includes one provider, which is my therapist, because the therapist I was seeing at North Central was not providing me regular CBT, DBT, EMDR, talk therapy. I've done a lot of therapy. I know how therapy goes. I'm very mentally aware. Like, I've always grown up as like mental health awareness is very important. So I know a lot about therapy and psychology, actually. But the therapy I was receiving at North Central Healthcare wasn't therapy. It was like an interrogation. It was an interrogation. She would just ask me, you know, a lot of questions about my dad and his whereabouts, how much I knew about what he did. It wasn't, I mean, there weren't really many questions. She didn't really question me or like my personal well-being. It was just more like an interrogation. Where was I with my story? So I'm trying to receive care from a third-party provider outside of North Central Healthcare's ecosystem. and I've had one appointment with them. Now, recently, they've actually called me and said that they have had to take a permanent leave of absence for unforeseen health reasons and can no longer see me anymore. And this is all in close proximity. The brake lines have been cut now. I'm getting basically abused by my new psychiatrist after requesting a new one, and now this lady tells me she's just like out. She can't be a therapist anymore. So anyway, right now my current situation is I am contesting North Central diagnosing me with mental illness requiring antipsychotic medication that can give me permanent brain damage, especially when the only basis that they're doing that on is that I'm talking about the CIA, that my dad, all I'm saying is my dad works for the CIA, that's it. That's all I'm saying. And they're calling me delusional just for that. I'm not talking about conspiracy theories, I'm not seeing things, I'm not hearing voices, I'm of sound mind. And just on that basis, they are trying to diagnose me with mental illness and pumping me full of antipsychotic medication, which I've also been finding them on, and that doesn't even mention the illegal false allegations made against me, which are that's just blatant proof. That's just blatant proof right there. Like, false police report, false dialogue from a psychiatrist, there's all these false allegations, and I'm also reporting it to the psychiatrist I have, and when I report it to her and tell her something illegal has been done at her company, instead of reporting it or saying that this needs to be looked into, she tells me to be quiet about it. Like, she silences me about it and says, we're not talking about this anymore, or it's not looking good for you getting out of your commitment. And she's actually extending my commitment now, which all this footage can be found. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to record everything before all this happened. I haven't been able to record everything before all this happened, but at least I'm recording it now. That way, when I go and I tell other people what has been said to me at some of my psychiatric sessions, they don't believe me. They don't believe me. So I had to start recording it because it is unbelievable that this is actually happening and that they're saying these things. My psychiatrist has also said that I have a delusional or unstable, illogical thought pattern for saying no and not conforming. What? These are actual things that have been said to me. That's where I am right now. I'm fighting North Central Healthcare. False allegations have been made against me. I'm being indirectly told to quit talking about the false allegations and the illegal activity that occurred at North Central Healthcare, or I will be diagnosed with mental illness, prescribed more antipsychotic medication that causes brain damage, and called a danger to society and hostile and aggressive. That's what I've been told. And my roommate's brake lines have now been cut. Yep, so that's where I'm at right now. North Central Healthcare is trying to have me deeply evaluated now because I contested them and I've been fighting them on this diagnosis. And the main thing that I really brought up was you diagnosed me without meeting proper DSM-V criteria, which is DSM-V is like the criteria you have to meet to diagnose somebody with certain mental illnesses. I didn't even meet the criteria for it, and they're trying to say that I do. So they're having me evaluated by another third-party provider that I get to choose, which really I don't. They choose. They choose, and I don't get a choice. It's somebody they work with as well. So anyway, this is just all the documentation, everything going on. It's an update. That's where I'm at. Yeah, there it is.